The month of May has been a good one for silver. Ended April trading around $25.85. We have seen it push briefly up as high as $28.75. But is this going to be yet another recovery that runs out of steam? Or are we going to see silver target $30 an ounce in June? Silver staged a great recovery over the last couple of months or so, off the lows at the end of March, below $24 an ounce, and then briefly, as I said, up to sort of $28.75 during May. You can see this trend chugging along. It's put in a good performance. If we take a step out, of course, going back to August of last year, we're still pretty much sideways. And whenever we see silver pushing up near these levels, sort of $29, $30 an ounce, it doesn't last for very long. So I thought it'd be interesting to take a look this time around and see what we can expect in the weeks ahead. Is there a trade to do? We do have a few trades running at the moment. So the usual mix of trades in here. Here are the silver trades. So we're up a couple of £100 overall. A few trades done on previous videos, buying in at 26.80 and 27.30 and 26.93. So I'm wondering, is there another opportunity from here, or actually, is it time to take profits? As usual in this video, I'll talk a bit about what to watch out for. Then we'll come back and look at things in a bit more detail. Hello, I'm David Jones from Capital.com, and I thought we'd do an update on silver. It's had a good month during May, but what could June hold in store? Are we going to see more gains, or, as we got used to seeing, I think, over recent months, is it going to start running out of steam? So as usual in this video, I'll talk a bit about what investors and traders are looking at when it comes to silver, the levels to watch, then we'll jump back onto the platform, take a look at things in more detail, and see if there's another trade to do. If you're watching this and you haven't subscribed, if you could click on subscribe, it does help support the channel. Plus, of course, every Friday now at 2:30 in the afternoon, we do these regular live streams where we take a look at a whole host of markets in real time across the board. If you're subscribed with the alarm bell notification clicked, you get a notification off YouTube just as we're about to go live. Okay, that's it. Let's get into having a look at silver in a bit more detail. So it's been a volatile year so far. We're 5 months into the year. We've seen the price of silver trade from $24 to $30 very briefly. So we have seen some big swings in this market, continuing the volatility that we saw last year. Because half of the demand for silver comes from its industrial applications. I think some investors were banking on increased economic activity, economies returning more back to normal this year, as helping lift demand for the price of silver. So I think that's one thing that has supported the price during 2021. The other point to consider is something that's come into focus over the last couple of months, is the threat of inflation. So we've seen volatility in stock markets, for example, worried that the central banks are underestimating just how bad or how high inflation could get, relatively speaking, towards the end of the year. Traditionally, silver is seen as a hedge against inflation. So some people would take the view, well, if inflation is going to be more of a concern, that's also going to help demand for silver. So we've got a couple of things underpinning it here: industrial recovery and the threat of inflation further down the line. There are a few ways of taking advantage, of course, of any rise in silver. It's the whole paper versus physical argument, buying silver coins, silver bars, or exchange-traded products such as exchange-traded funds. Exchange-traded products saw a 300% leap in demand during 2020. Perhaps that's flattening out a bit this year, but so far at least, however people are buying silver, we are seeing the price pretty well supported so far this year. So during May, at the time of recording, the price is up 7%. It's a decent move in a month, but we have seen plenty of recoveries for the price of silver, only for it to run out of steam once again. So are we going to see $30 end up being a problem and the price getting nowhere near it? Is now the time to sell out? Let's take a look at the levels to watch, then we'll jump back onto the platform. So I think we do have some hurdles above $28 an ounce, $28.25, $28.75, some recent highs. I think the ultimate barrier medium term is up at $30 an ounce. On the downside, perhaps is where things get a bit more interesting if we're looking to buy into the recent recovery. So for me, the most immediate support, the mid-May lows, $26.70 an ounce. But as usual, let's put some color on these numbers. Take a look on the chart and see, is there another trade to do in silver? I think it can be easy to get carried away with trends and think, well, just because silver has risen over the last couple of months, we're going to see it continue to rise. But I do think we need to be perhaps a little bit wary up here. You know, if we're looking at the chart back to August of last year, we can see it does really struggle in this whole $28 to $30 area. But we'll come back to the price action in a second. Let's kick things off by taking a look at a moving average first of all. So I've got a 20-day moving average on the price. And you can see it's done a really good job during this recovery of almost providing floating support, I suppose we could call it, for silver. The price pushes through the 20-day moving average middle of April, when the moving average was about $25 an ounce. We've seen it pull back along the way. At the time we're recording, we're having another little pullback. That moving average has done a good job of supporting the price. So I suppose if you were thinking about buying in at the moment, that's one argument to say, well, perhaps we're going to see a bounce off these levels. Let's see what happens. Take a look at the RSI. They're down here as usual, 10-day RSI. What's interesting here, something I pick up on when we see it before in other markets, is this idea of divergence. I'm not so much a fan of just pure overbought, oversold signals in RSIs, because it can give you a signal to go against the trend a bit too early. But we do have what's going on at the moment is known as divergence, where the market has pushed to a high, the RSI goes overbought, the market pushes a bit higher still, the RSI is pretty much at the same level. And this setup is known as divergence, and it can be a suggestion when the RSI is not following the market higher, it can be a suggestion that perhaps the uptrend is running out of steam. That did prove to be a short-term peak so far. That push up that we saw toward $28.75, we have seen the price back off. But I think, again, it's something to be aware of. When it comes to setting up a trade, you know, for me, you know, from the videos that we do on this channel, I'm a big fan of trend following. We do have a trend in place. I'm just a bit wary about how much upside could be left from here. But let's take a look on the intraday chart and see if there would be a trade to do. So here's our trend in silver on the hourly chart. It is almost a textbook uptrend. This one, we've got higher highs, higher lows. We've seen that trend line touched a few times. So for me, if I was thinking about being a buyer now, I'd probably want my stop. The closest I'd want my stop, I'd really be looking at these lows from the 21st of May, ahead of $27 an ounce. So perhaps the other side of 27. If I wanted to give it a bit more room, perhaps I go to 26.50. So for me, if I didn't have any positions on, that's where I'd be looking to manage my risk. So for me, the target from here, the first target, if I was a buyer now, would be a push back up to that 28.70, 28.75 zone. That would be the sort of the swing I'd be looking for from here. So for just over $1. But I think if we start breaking down through 26.50, clearly that trend, for me anyway, is over. And the risk is we go back to where we started back at the end of March. So I think 26.50 to 27, pretty important support for the price of silver. If we take it back to the dailies, you can see there, you can see the trend that I drew on the hourlies. It's there on the dailies. You can see what a problem area it's been up here. You know, perhaps if we do manage to break 29, we have another look at $30. So for now, but $30 has been a real problem. So at the moment, I can't really see the case for a massive breakthrough through $30. But I think I do need to adjust my positions. I think I'm just going to bump the stops up. So at the moment, these stops on the silver trades are down pretty low, because that's where they were when we opened the trades. I'm going to move them all up to $26.50. So there we go. My stops are all moved up. I still have some risk in the trade. I'm still at the risk of losing some money on these positions, but I'm quite happy to move those stops up and trail it behind the uptrend. So we do have this uptrend in place. I'd be looking for another look at least at those 28.75 highs. I think if we start to lose $27, $26.50, the risk is for a deeper pullback. But going into May, into June, the trend for silver is still up. Perhaps we'll get another squeeze higher. I'd just be a bit cautious if it starts pushing near 30. That's it for the update. We'll see how it fares in June. May's been a good one. Can it carry on, or are we going to see yet again a recovery run out of steam? We'll come back and take a look in the next few weeks. But for now, from me, David Jones, and Capital.com, we'll leave things there. Good luck with your trading. For more trading videos just like this, please subscribe to our channel.